The president seems to be showing a stunningly cavalier attitude toward this health disaster.
That's right, Wolf. And an administration official is telling CNN that others on the coronavirus task force here at the White House agree with Dr. Deborah Birx' stark assessment that the pandemic in the U.S. has entered a new phase and that COVID-19 has become, quote, extraordinarily widespread. President Trump lashed out at Birx after she made that remark, but it's the president's latest comments on the virus that are raising questions about his grasp on reality. The president is insisting the virus is, quote, under control, telling the news site Axios, it is what it is.
Thank you. Nice to see you.
For President Trump, each appearance in front of the cameras brings another departure from reality on the coronavirus. The latest example, his interview with Axios. Asked about the soaring number of COVID-19 deaths in the U.S., the president says it is what it is.
I think it's under control. I'll tell you what.
How? 1,000 Americans are dying a day.
They are dying. That's true. And it is what it is. But that doesn't mean we aren't doing everything we can. It's under control as much as you can control it.
The president tried to insist the data is on his side, but that argument fell flat too.
I'm talking about death as a proportion of population. That's where the U.S. is really bad. Much worse than South Korea versus South Korea.
No, because you have to go by the cases.
In Mr. Trump's world, the U.S. is leading in its response.
Well, hold it.
The U.S. has so many deaths.
Hold it.
The U.S. has so many deaths compared to so many countries around the world.
We haven't been given, and not me, I'm not talking about me, Vice President, the task force, have not been given the kind of credit. The United States has done an amazing job, a great job.
But that's not true, which is why the president hammered the coordinator of his coronavirus task force, Dr. Deborah Birx, for acknowledging reality.
What we're seeing today is different from March and April. It is extraordinarily widespread.
After slamming her comments as, quote, pathetic, a remark that left Birx feeling stung, Mr. Trump appeared to dial back his criticism.
I think we're doing very well. I told Dr. Birx I think we're doing very well. She was in my office a little while ago. She's a person I have a lot of respect for.
The president is also taking some personal jabs at the late civil rights icon John Lewis, who was laid to rest last week.
He chose not to come to my inauguration. He chose, I never met John Lewis, actually, I don't believe.
Do you find him impressive?
I can't say one way or the other. I find a lot of people impressive. Nobody has done more for black Americans than I have.
I understand.
He should have come. I think he made a big mistake.
The president is reversing himself on the subject of voting by mail, at least in Florida, after blasting the practice in the past, tweeting, whether you call it vote by mail or absentee voting, in Florida, the election system is safe and secure, tried and true. So in Florida, I encourage all to request a ballot and vote by mail. CNN has learned Florida Republicans appealed to the president to back off. White House officials insist Mr. Trump is being consistent.
Will he admit now what is the fact that voting across the country by mail is safe and secure and tried and true?
Well, the president has always said that absentee voting for a reason is different than mass mail-out voting like what Nevada is seeking to do, which leads to mass fraud.
It's the same thing.
And also, I'd refer you to the campaign on this.
Now, as for negotiations on a new coronavirus relief bill, time may be running out. A White House official said aides to the president are eyeing various proposals for Mr. Trump to take executive action should both sides in Congress fail to reach an agreement by the end of this week. There are also signs of divisions inside the administration. Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin both told Republican senators behind closed doors today that they are on the same page when it comes to a deal. Never a good sign when different sides of the administration are saying things like that. And as for how the virus is impacting operations here at the White House, the National Security Advisor Robert O'Brien, he is back on the job today after testing positive for COVID-19 last week, Wolf.
Joining us now, our chief political analyst, Gloria Borger, our senior political commentator, David Axelrod, and CNN contributor and biology professor, Aaron Bromage. David, in that interview with Axios, and all of us have seen it now, the president was pressed on his response to this pandemic. I want to play one little clip involving his stunning response.
Right now, I think it's under control. I'll tell you what.
How? 1,000 Americans are dying a day.
They are dying. That's true. And it is what it is. But that doesn't mean we aren't doing everything we can. It's under control as much as you can control it. This is a horrible plague that beset us.
You really think this is as much as we can control? 1,000 deaths a day?
It is what it is, David. That's the president's response to nearly 1,000 Americans dying each day. If you didn't see it on video, it would be almost hard to believe, right?
The entire interview, but that in particular, Wolf. Look, part of the problem is the president is standing at the podium right now, and every day he stands up and he reads a script that is written for him, and it generally tries to tell the country that he's taking it seriously, we're moving in the right direction. But whenever he ad-libs or whenever he's in an interview situation, you get a real window into how he's thinking about this. And he is so desperate to spin what is plainly not a success into a success that he is blithe about the loss of 1,000 Americans a day. And that absence of empathy, that absence of connection, that absence of recognition of the tragedy that people are going through is really stunning. But so too is the dissonance between this attempt to try and show the president involved and in control and a president who seems completely oblivious to the realities around him.
You know, Gloria, the president says, and I'm quoting now, where he says we're doing everything we can. Is he essentially throwing up his hands at this moment?
Yeah, I think he's thrown up his hands throughout this entire pandemic. And when his science advisors, like Deborah Birx, try to tell the truth, Tony Fauci tried to tell the truth. Birx did over the weekend when she was talking about the severity of what is now occurring in this country. He called her pathetic. So what you have is Donald Trump reading off of the script, trying to convince the country, yes, things are going great. We're doing everything we can. Things are heading in the right direction. We're moving in the right direction. And then you have his science advisors saying, wait a minute, it's not. We have major problems here. And so what does the president do? He contradicts them when he goes off script in front of a camera, and he takes pity on himself because, of course, he believes, and I think rightly so, that the way he has handled the pandemic is hurting his reelection. I mean, it took him, how long did it take him, Wolf, to finally acknowledge that you ought to wear a mask? And now he's fundraising saying wearing masks are patriotic. It took him a long time to even acknowledge that basic fact.
Yeah, if he would have said right at the beginning what his advisors were saying is healthcare, wear a mask, it's going to save a lot of lives. And it could have saved a lot of lives if he had done so, told his supporters out there, just wear a mask. It's not that complicated. Aaron, I want you to watch another rather puzzling exchange in this Axios interview where the president tries to explain why he thinks the U.S. is doing better than other countries. Listen to this.
Take a look at some of these charts.
I'd love to.
We're going to look.
Let's look.
And if you look at death,
It's started to go up
here's
again.
one. Well, right here, the United States is lowest in numerous categories. We're lower than the world.
Lower than the
We're lower
world?
than
What is that?
Europe.
In what?
Look.
In what?
Take a look. Right here. Here's case death.
Oh, you're doing death as a proportion of cases. I'm talking about death as a proportion of population. That's where the US is really bad.
Well,
Much worse than South Korea, Germany, etc.
you can't do that. You have
Why
to go.
can't I do that?
You have to go by. You have to go by where. Look, here is the United States. You have to go by the cases. Here's one right here. United States. You take
Anyway.
the number of cases.
Okay.
Now look, we're last, meaning we're first.
Last, I don't know
We
what
have
we're
the
first
best.
in. As a
Well,
what?
take a look.
Okay.
Again, it's
I just-
cases.
Okay.
And we have cases because
mean,
of the testing.
1,000 Americans are dying a day, but I understand on cases it's different.
No, but you're not reporting it correctly, Jonathan.
I think I am, but
If you take a look at this other chart, look, this is our testing, I believe. This is the testing, yeah.
yeah, we do more tests.
No, wait a minute. Well, don't we get credit for that? And because we do more tests, we have more cases.
I think Jonathan Swan did an excellent job, and he is reporting it accurately. Aaron, the president makes this argument all the time. There's a lot of testing. As a result, there are more cases. But set the record straight for us.
Well, he can't have it both ways. He complains about because we're testing so much, we have so many cases. But when you start looking at death per case, then it makes it look better. So he's trying to have his cake and eating it too here. Yes, we are testing a lot and we're identifying a lot more cases than other nations are. But when you look at the mortality statistics, the number of Americans that have died in the total population of America, it is terrible. We are not leading the world there in only but the worst sense. He's really misguided about how he's using the statistics and trying to mislead people in the direction that makes it look better rather than what the real situation is.